Okay, good. So I'll ask you a question. Now you have to answer. You have to either answer unmuting you, or you have to send a message in the chat box. Okay. Satyameva Jayate. Have you heard that phrase? Somebody has to tell me something.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
Jayesh. Yes. Okay. Where did you hear it?
In our the Ashoka Chakra, the national emblem.
Ashoka Chakra, national emblem. Exactly. Surendran. Is that Surendran?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Good. So Ashoka Chakra, all of us have seen the Ashoka Chakra. And in that national emblem, we've seen Satyameva Jayate. So let's see if I can share a screen here. Okay. Okay. This is Satyameva Jayate. Correct? We've seen it in the Ashoka Chakra. This emblem of India, which has
One
4
answer in
lines.
text box in history book.
Say that again.
One answer in the chat box. Some has seen in text history book.
Seen in the history book. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Seen in the history book. But you can even look at your own 2 rupee coin and 5 rupee coin and all that. And one of the sides of the coin should say Satyameva Jayate. Okay. So this is our history. And next, I'm sharing a screen. I hope all of you can see the screen. Okay. First symbol. Okay. And do you recognize this symbol? I want to hear an answer.
LIC.
Life Insurance Corporation of India, LIC. Correct. So look at what they say at the bottom. Yoga Kshemam Vahamyam. Okay. Before I go there, Satyameva Jayate. Where is the Satyameva Jayate coming from? Why this Sanskrit? Well, it is a phrase that appears in an Upanishad called Mundaka Upanishad. Okay, Mundaka Upanishad. We'll come back to that in a bit. So you might say, wait a minute, what is Upanishad, etc. You might have some questions. So Mundaka Upanishad. Anyway, doesn't matter. So yeah, LIC, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyam. So this phrase comes from the Bhagavat Gita.
Bhagavat Gita.
It says that I will give you yoga and kshema. Yoga means what? I will give you prosperity. And then what is the use of prosperity if you cannot remain prosperous, if you cannot protect that prosperity? That is called kshemam. So I will give you yogam and kshemam. That's what it is said in the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, Krishna says that. Okay, next emblem. Who wants to guess? What is this is the emblem of which organization in India?
Air Force.
Yeah, Air Force, exactly. It says here Vayu Sena also. So Air Force. Nabhasprisham Deeptam. Nabhasprisham Deeptam also Sanskrit, comes from Bhagavad Gita. And there, the meaning of this phrase is going to the heavens, touching the sky beyond the limits we are going to go. That is the meaning of this Nabhasprisham Deeptam. Okay. Shanno Varunaha. Any guesses? Whose emblem this is?
Navy, sir.
Navy, exactly, Navy. So Navy's emblem is Shanno Varuna. Shanno. May the God of oceans, God of waters protect us and bring us auspiciousness. That is Shanno Varuna. Okay. Going next, look at this. First one is DRDO, Defense Research and Development Organization. Says Balasya Moolam Vijnana. So they say Vijnanam means research. Research is the source of strength. That is what DRDO says. Okay. Sanskrit, obviously. Then look at this. Bits Pilani. Jnanam Param Balam. The greatest strength is knowledge. Look at the next one. Indian Institute of Technology, Madras. Siddhir Bhavati Karmaja. By proper action, one gains success. Okay. Your results are fruitful if you work properly. That is the meaning of that. Now look at this. Indian Administrative Service. Yogaha Karmasu Kaushalam. A very important phrase in the Bhagavad Gita again. And you should be asking, what is this Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Gita? Well, that is the significance of Bhagavad Gita. That is why other countries are studying Bhagavad Gita, whether we are studying or not. And so here, Yogaha Karmasu Kaushalam means what? Proper actions. Here, yoga means what? Means proper interpretation. Doing the right thing at the right time is yoga. In karma, whatever I do, when I do things properly, that is called yoga. Yoga is an attitude. Okay. With that attitude, I must do whatever I do. Okay. So IAS, that is their motto. Then look at AICTE today. Dr. Ganesh Kumar ji and others said AICTE was the one that has established this Indian knowledge traditions seminars. And so look at that. They are also saying Yoga Karmasu Kaushalam. And IIT Kharagpur also Yoga Karmasu Kaushalam. Okay. Indian School of Minds, Uttishtata, Jagrata, Prapya Varan Nibodhata. From the Kathopanishad. Okay. There is an Upanishad called Kathopanishad. I'll explain to you what all that is. And Indian Institute of Technology, Jodhpur, Tvam Jnanamayo Vijnanamayos. So this Kathopanishad is very interesting. It is a dialogue between a young boy, a 10-year-old boy, and the god of death, Yama. This boy argues with Yama, the god of death. Beautiful dialogue is there. If I have time, I will tell you that. Now it is 10:25, so we'll continue. And if I have time towards the end, we'll talk about that. Okay. Then look at this. IIT Roper. Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. Okay. How many of you heard of Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat?
Sir, in Gayatri Mantra.
Gayatri. Correct. Gayatri Mantra. It's called Gayatri Mantra. Somewhere I heard some Olympics, not the current Olympics, some Olympics or some international games, they played the Gayatri Mantra. Well, Gayatri Mantra is meant for each individual, and it's a very powerful mantra which prays for one's strong mind. May you inspire my intellect. Okay, that is the prayer. May you inspire our minds. Why? Because our life is a series of decisions, one after the other. From the time you wake up, you have to start making decisions. Should I attend this class today by somebody called Jayakumar Srinivasan Mangudi? Should I attend or not? That is a decision you have to make. Oh, attendance is compulsory. Oh, I must attend. Okay. Should I keep my video on or not? You have to decide. Like this, small decisions, big decisions, constantly. Therefore, let every decision be beneficial to me and to humanity. So that is Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. So Gayatri Mantra, Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvare Enyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. Okay. And then there is this Madras Regiment, the first infantry regiment of the Indian Army. Okay, Madras Regiment. And their motto is Shreyan Swadharmo Vigunaha. Look that up, Google it and find out. And it says Shreyan Swadharmo Vigunaha is also from the Bhagavad Gita. It says very simple statement, powerful. Death doing one's own duty is better than leading a comfortable life doing somebody else's duty or not doing your duty. Okay? Are you following me? Am I audible? Death doing your duty is great. That is what he's saying. Okay? And yeah, so Ramuji is saying this Gayatri Japa. Annually, some of us have to chant this Gayatri Mantra 1008 times, and that is coming up this weekend. And so this is, yeah, tomorrow for some people, day after tomorrow for others. Okay. So you see, these statements are all there in front of us. We don't recognize all these things. We don't recognize because we don't know Sanskrit. We've not heard of the Upanishads. We've not heard of the Bhagavad Gita. Maybe we did, but we didn't know what the Bhagavad Gita is. And so it's important for us to study all these things. And we have a little bit of time. So I thought I'll tell you the story of the Kathopanishad. I told you. Upanishads are a portion of the Vedas. A portion of the Vedas where the Vedas talks about what is the true nature of yourself. What is the true nature of the so-called God? God, Ishvara, we call it Ishvara, we call it Bhagavan, call him Bhagavan. What is the true nature? And what is the true nature of the world? The true nature of the world, physicists are looking at it. They look at world and then molecules and then atoms, and atoms are broken into particles, particles further broken into quarks, and they are still studying. In the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads, it is said that the true nature of God, the true nature of the world, and the true nature of yourself, the human being, is identical. It is called Atma. It is called Brahma. Okay? Like that it is said. And that Brahma is all pervasive, means because if the true nature of the world also is Brahma and I am also Brahma, that means all pervasive. And that is you, and that you is an incarnation of Ananda, happiness. Therefore, we should ask the question, how come sadness and things like that? So, a big topic. But here, this boy goes to this boy, there is a king. His father is a king, Vajashravas, and he's performing some kind of a ritual, a sacrifice, giving away all his wealth, everything given up. And finally, some cows are being given, and the old cows are being given. And then there is a dialogue between the boy. The boy is watching all this, and the boy tells the father, no, no, don't give old cows. It is of no use to anybody. You give me, you donate me to somebody, and at least I will be useful to those people to whom you give me. Like that, he says. Father gets angry. He says, get the hell out of here. And so this boy literally ends up to Yama's place. Yama, the god of death, ends up at the door, and Yama is not there. Yama is not there in his house, in his palace. Why? Well, because Yama is a busy man, he has to take care of the entire world. And so he's busy. So he's not there. One day he's not there. Second day he's not there. Third day, at the end of the third day, he comes. And so Yama comes. He's horrified that he's kept a 10-year-old boy waiting. And so he says, he offers three boons. Three boons you ask. First boon, the boy Nachiketas asks. He says, my father will be upset because by mistake he sent me to death, and so he'll be upset. Make him happy. First boon. Second boon, he says, people want to go to heaven. How should people go to heaven? Then Yama teaches him some ritual, very elaborate ritual, and Nachiketa learns all that, repeats it word by word, and so he asks this boon for the benefit of humanity. Third boon he asks Yama this question. Hey, wait a minute. After death, some people say nothing is left after death. Some people say there is life after death. You tell me a little more about this. Okay? And you know what Yama says? Yama says, no. Don't worry about all these things. I will make you a king. I'll give you all kinds of wealth. And you can be the reigning emperor of the entire world for any amount of years, however long you want. And he keeps on attracting this boy with all kinds of goodies. Okay, I'll send you chariots from heaven. If you don't like the chariots in India, I'll send them from heaven itself. Don't worry, we have pretty good chariots. And this boy says, Tavaiva vahaha tava nitya gite. Hey, you keep all your dance, music, chariots, and everything with yourself. I don't need those things. You'd answer my question. That is what I want you to do. In fact, I am here. If you don't answer me this question about death, who else will answer this question? So he challenges Yama. And so there is a dialogue between this boy and this Lord of Death. Therefore, if you Google dialogue with the death, you will find Eknath Ishwaran and many others have written books on this topic. Dialogue with death means it comes from that Upanishad. Okay. So that is Upanishad. Then there is Bhagavat Gita. Most of these quotations you heard are from Bhagavat Gita. Bhagavad Gita appears in one of the important epics of our Sanatana Dharma called Mahabharata. All of you have heard of Mahabharata. So there is a story of two families, etc., and then it ends up in war. And then in the battlefield, Arjuna is petrified, and he's ready to fight the war, but then he finds that he's facing all these people, his relatives, his guru, his teachers, people. Drona taught him archery, all the mantras, powerful mantras, missiles powered by mantras, all that Drona taught him. And guess what? Drona is in the opposite camp. Bhishma is in the opposite camp. All his cousins are in the opposite camp. So he's confused. And even though it was right for him to be here and fight the war, because all those people were on the wrong side, still he's confused because he's faced with a big challenge. How can I kill my own teachers? How can I kill my cousins? That is his problem. And so the story is that Krishna is teaching Arjuna, teaching the same message that is there in the Upanishads, and is talking about various topics. And so this dharma becomes very important. You must do what is to be done. It doesn't matter whether you're killing a guru or you're killing an animal or killing somebody else. When killing is the right thing to do, that is what you should do. And so that is the story of the Bhagavad Gita, and there is a philosophy in it. That is why there is a lot of interest in the Bhagavad Gita all over the world. And so that is why it is important for us also to understand what this Bhagavad Gita is. And of course, all these are in Sanskrit language. When the British came to India in 1600s, early 1700s, etc., they were somewhat amazed because they have colonized many countries. All were tribals, and they did not have anything. They come to India, and then they find that so many languages. Dance means not one type of Bharatanatyam. There is Kuchipudi, there is Kathakali, there is Odissi, and this and that all over. And they're talking about various philosophies. They're talking about action, karma. They're talking about knowledge. What is knowledge? What is existence? What is afterlife? Is there afterlife? When the body dies, is there anything that remains after death? These are the questions they are discussing. They're debating. And tell me, how will the British govern this country, rule over this country with people being so sophisticated? Not possible. Not possible, right? They find this language, Sanskrit. And Sanskrit is such a language. All you engineers will love it. Okay? I'll try to explain this to you. Okay? You look at Sanskrit, it's like the periodic table of elements. In chemistry, you've got all these elements, right? Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, sodium, potassium, barium, etc., etc. And they combine, there is oxidation, there is reduction, and then molecules are formed. Water, if I say water, to you, you know a lot more. A person who's illiterate, water is water. But for you, you know. 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom, correct? You know that very well. So your knowledge of water goes beyond just looks. And like all these atoms combine to form molecules, water and sodium chloride and this and that, all these chemicals are there. Likewise, in Sanskrit, there is something called a dhatu. There are letters, of course, like A, B, C, D, E. You have A, E, I, U, etc. There are a few letters, so 30 letters, 40 letters, whatever. And those letters form what are called dhatus. Dhatus are fundamental elements of Sanskrit. Okay, like I'm going to give an example. Okay, like pach means to cook. Pachati means cook. And like stha dhatu. Okay, stha. The stha dhatu is interesting because like in the words called sthanam. Hindi maybe sthan bolte hai na? Sthan. So sthanam, sthalam, sthiram. Okay. Sthapanam, establish. All this, the word sta means stability. That root gives the idea of stability to the word that it forms. Sta is not a word. Sta is a dhatu. It's an element. It has to form a word like an element forms a molecule. Okay. Now that molecule, sthanam, sthiram, sthalam, etc. Now look at the English meanings of this word. Sthanam, place, that which is stable, stable, static, static, station, that which remains, stationary, that which does not move, establish, making something stable. That's called establish. Look at that star, sta in English and sthaa in Sanskrit. Look at the connection. The British understood this connection. The Germans understood this connection. They were amazed by this language. They said, my goodness, this is a different culture altogether. We have entered a country which is entirely different. How are we going to colonize this country? How are you going to tell them? Colonization means what? Telling them that you are stupid, you are uncivilized, you are no good, you are tribal. You have to learn from us. That is colonization. In short, that is what colonization is. Okay. Now, so they said they started studying Sanskrit. They started studying Vedas. They started studying Bhagavad Gita. Guy called Max Muller. British people hired a consultant. You know the name of the consultant? Max Muller from Germany. Because they heard of Max Muller, a Sanskrit Pandit. And so they called him. He did not even visit India. Without visiting India, he studied all these things and he wrote a dictionary of Sanskrit and so on and so forth. And while Europe was in love with India and Indian culture and in Sanskrit. Okay. In Europe those days, in the 1800s, you know what? The official language of India was Sanskrit. And in Europe, what they used to say, the status in Europe, status. If you have not gone to India, then you are nobody in Europe. And if you are studying Sanskrit, then you are somebody, you are God. So did you go to India and do you know Sanskrit? These are the two questions they used to ask in Europe those days. Okay, that's the extent of love they had for this country. That's how much the country gave to them. And while they were benefiting from all this, they decided, okay, I'm going to show you a screen now. Okay, they decided, Macaulay, I'm going to show you what Macaulay did. Okay, Thomas Babington Macaulay. Okay, he said, he realized that this Vedas and Sanskrit is the backbone of the Indian culture, and therefore it is important for us to remove that from the Indian education system. He says we must form a class who may be interpreters between us and the millions whom we govern, a class of persons Indian in blood and color, but English in taste, in opinions, and in morals and intellect. Okay. All right. This is the famous statement from what is called the Macaulay Minute. And from then onwards, they stopped publishing Sanskrit books and they anglicized education in India. And I am a product of that education system. Narayana Murthy is a product of that education system. Pretty much every Indian. There are exceptions, no doubt, but everybody is a product of that system. So while Europe was benefiting from our philosophies and our education system, we had a decentralized education system. They had a centralized system. So they converted their system into decentralized. They came here, they started putting strict rules on all schools, all Veda Padashalas. They put some strict rules. You must have so-and-so building in order to conduct a Veda Padashala. No building was there. Veda Padashala shut down. Veda Padashala means don't think only Vedas. There are a lot of sciences are being studied there. And that's how, from then onwards, we became illiterate. Literally, we became illiterate. Our economy at that time was 25%. 25% of the world GDP. Let me explain what that means is. Today, America's share of the world GDP is 23%. Okay. What is the meaning of that? It means if you add up the production of every country in this world, you add it all up, put it in the denominator, and then you put the production of a particular country like America. America's production divided by total world production is percent GDP. And today, America's percent GDP is 23%, which means 1/4 of everything that is produced is being made by America, which also means if today I go out and spend 100 rupees, 25 of those rupees are going to America. Like iPhone, you buy iPhone, a majority of the money goes to America, 90%. But on an average, 25% quarter goes to America. That is why America is prosperous economically. Now, and what is today's India share of GDP? It is something like 3%. 3%. Those days, 150 years ago, what was our share of GDP? 25%, 26%. China and India were competing with each other. 25% means what? Those days, India was as prosperous as America is today. Exactly identical. Okay. So British decided they will chop off our education, and then they started penalizing us, levying taxes and things like that. They took away all our manufacturing capacity. Have you heard of muslin cloth? Muslin cloth was prized cloth. It's cloth that is almost invisible. That is the kind of cloth we used to make in West Bengal. And you know what the British did? They went there and chopped the thumbs of all those people, so they will not make muslin. Okay, we will make muslin in England. The story is very big, my dear friends. And so from then onwards, we have essentially been driven down a path of illiteracy and poverty. You can see that. So if somebody asks you why India is poor, I'm not blaming British. Don't go away thinking Dr. Jaykumar is blaming the British for all our problems. No, we have to take responsibility for all the problems that are there in India. I'm telling you some history so you have an idea of all the factors that are responsible for why we are what we are today. Okay, so that's the history that I wanted you to know. And so we are taught instead that Sanskrit is a dead language and all that. Sanskrit is not a dead language. If it is a dead language, why are they studying Sanskrit? Why are children studying Sanskrit in Germany? And so we should ask the question. So we should stop buying into all these ideas that were put into our head, dead language and all that. It's not a dead language. And so with that, I want to stop. I've spoken quite a bit. It's already 10:45.